Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is our weekly MLB betting show that we do with Troy West from allplayswin.com. Today is Friday, June 6th, and we are going to right now preview the series that start next Monday. And Troy West, of course, is coming off a great series recommendation with us on the Spurs and a pick on the Spurs -4 in Game 1. Troy, thanks for being back with us.
Hey, thanks a lot, Pete. I appreciate it. Yeah, we've actually had an outstanding baseball season. Yesterday, our top play of the week, Pete, the Kansas City Royals, St. Louis Cardinals, under 7.5, Michael Wacha and Ventura. We've been hitting nonstop on our big plays in baseball, Pete. I really encourage people to come take a look, allplayswin.com.
So now let's take a look at the series that starts this next Monday. And the first one that I want to discuss is Boston at Baltimore. Now, Baltimore, had some injuries on offense earlier in the year. Chris Davis was out. Some guys weren't hitting. Now we know, we've seen them recently. They're really putting it together. They're absolutely rolling on offense. They've also been a good bet on the year overall, plus 5.5%. Boston, on the other hand, is minus 15.5% ROI, and that is the second worst in baseball, second only to Tampa Bay. Baltimore has had some issues at home. They are minus 10.5% ROI at home, but Boston, again, their numbers are just kind of bad all around, minus 14% ROI overall on the road. And so this play is like half a play on Baltimore, and I'm encouraged by how weak Boston is in general. What do you think? Take Baltimore here?
Yeah, I think Baltimore is the right bet, Pete. I also will take a strong look at these overs because neither team's pitching staffs are blowing anybody away. And you look at the way Baltimore's been hitting the ball in Texas, man, this team really is starting to come to life, especially the bats. But the pitching staff, man, they've just been out of whack. Chen's been inconsistent. We know Chris Tillman's been inconsistent. This is just a pitching staff that I don't necessarily trust right now. So with lean more, my official play will be on the overs in this series.
On the overs. Okay, I certainly would not disagree with that. And then the second series that I want to discuss, not a surprise here. You know how much I love to fade the Cubs. I've suggested that we start a side handicapping project where the entire service just fades the Cubs every day. And the Cubs go into Pitt on the road. And, Pitt is maybe nothing special, but that should also serve to keep the lines low. They're minus 5% ROI on the year, but they have been profitable in May and June and slightly profitable at home overall. So what do you think? Standard fade of the Cubs here, a good thing to do?
Yeah, I think so too, Pete. I really do. This Pittsburgh team is in a spot now where they have to start winning games. If it doesn't happen now, their season's going to come to a close. And they do have guys that are starting to step up. Charlie Morton's starting to pitch better. Garrett Cole's starting to pitch better. Liriano's starting to get a little bit better. They have the same guys that took them right down to the playoffs last year in the hunt. Why aren't they doing it this year? I don't know. A good opportunity to get some wins against the Cubs. I'll go with Pittsburgh as well.
Okay, good. Standard fade of the Cubs. And then the next series that is interesting to me is Minnesota at Toronto. And we just know what's happened with Toronto, right? Their offense has suddenly exploded, and that's not a huge surprise. They have some huge bats in the lineup. I did think about this series, though, before Edwin Encarnacion had some back issues, so I'm not exactly sure what his health status is at the moment. But Toronto absolutely on fire, plus 37% ROI in May. That was tops in baseball, and that has absolutely been continuing into June. And Minnesota, they are a team that continues to surprise, despite some mediocre pitching at best and a lineup that maybe overachieves based on who the names are in the lineup. They're actually plus 11% ROI overall on the year, and they've been profitable in May and June. But my sense is that going into Toronto, they'll be a little bit at a disadvantage. So my first thought is take Toronto, and then my second thought is take overs. Minnesota 61% overs on the year. Toronto 57% overs. What do you think? No-brainer on the overs and bet Toronto?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Pete. Okay. I think the lines may be slightly high for Toronto to be betting them every game, but the overs I do think will be good bets. Toronto does got pitchers that somehow, some way come out and throw good. Drew Hutchinson's been outstanding. R.A. Dickey's been good. Even J.A. Hop's been better. So it scares me a little bit. And even guys on the Minnesota side, the Kevin Poiriers, the Phil Hughes, the guys that we think are gas cans are starting to pitch better. But I would still lean towards the overs in this game. Absolutely. Both teams are hitting the ball consistently. Both good lineups. I'll go officially and go overs.
All right, yeah. And again, though, we don't know what the lines will be. And I could easily see, these lines opening at 9.5, and you're like, I don't know. And then, the next day after the overnights, it increases to 10. And so do you really want to take it over 10 in a series like this? I don't know, maybe. But that's the treachery of, calling these series before we know what the lines are. But so if you had to go with either Toronto or the overs, you'd prefer to go with the overs.
Absolutely, yep.
All right. You can take the overs. I'll take Toronto in this series, and that's all I have for the early week series next week. What do you have for us, Troy?
Pete, one thing that I think this is going to be so widely talked about coming up is the Yankees Mariners. You're going to have Tanaka going up against Hiwakuma, one of the greatest Japanese matchups of all time next week, Pete. I think you got to lean under in that game, but my God, that might be a five and a half under, Pete, with those two guys pitching in a pitcher's ballpark. But I'm looking forward to it under in the Yankees Mariners Hiwakuma versus Tanaka matchup.
All right, I'll tell you what the problem is, though. You know, it used to be in baseball that 7 was like a psychological barrier, but now the bookies don't care. They'll throw a 5.5 out there. They'll throw a 5. If they'll put any number on this. So I'm just worried about how low this line could be. And when you start getting that low, just the flukiness of baseball, it's just, you know what I mean? It's just easy for a game like that to go over, no matter who the teams are.
No, I would totally agree. I think it will be at the 6.5 range, and I still like the under. I think one of these two guys will throw a shutout. I think you're looking at a 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 game with these two pitchers. So my official play will go on under in that game.
All right. Troy West from allplayswin.com. Thanks so much for your thoughts, as always, and we'll talk to you again next week.